In this tutorial, we're going to be looking at the 5 best core exercises for beginners. We're going to keep it simple. I'm going to go straight into the 5 exercises, and I'm going to cover how, what, and why for each of them. There is also a criteria that I've used to be able to choose these exercises. Number 1 is that they're simple to do, because beginners don't need big complex exercises. Number 2, they're effective and they do exactly what they say on the tin. They build core strength and stability. They build a foundation, so they are foundational exercises that you can build on top of. Number 4, they come from what I would describe as applied anatomy, so they achieve what the body is built to do. I've also been able to build these out of experience. So I've been working as a trainer for since 2008. I've worked with many beginners, many people starting out in exercise, and I've seen these exercises work for them, and then you can move on and build out of them onto new exercises. And then finally, what I've been able to do as well is make these the cornerstone of my online core strength and stability program. And if you want to join that and enroll, you can just go to the link in the description below. So let's go through to the 5 exercises. Exercise number 1 is the plank. And I guess I should say now, there is no order to this of what one is better or worse than another. It's done in no particular order at all. So exercise number 1 is the plank. Now, how do we do it? We need to brace the abdominals. So we need to brace through this area here, obviously, and then across the other side as well. We need a straight line from ear to ankle. So we're going straight line through there. And we can either do it from the toes, as you can see here, I'm on my toes and I'm on my elbows. Now, if you are a beginner, you may find it more advantageous to go from the knee. So all you would basically do is you would put your knees on the floor, and then you would have a straight line from your knee through your hip, again up into your ear. So it's just a slightly different, slightly easier posture, because the lever isn't as long, because you're only lifting this part of your body rather than all of this part of your body. Now, what is it doing? Well, it's building endurance into the abdominal wall, and the abdominal wall is this area here. So the rectus abdominis on the front, which is the muscle we all know about, and then you've got the obliques on the side here, or either side, which are also working during this exercise as well. A couple of additional things you can add in is getting the top of the back, so the shoulder blades, just to gently squeeze together. So they would squeeze together, and that will activate the rhomboids and the trapezius, which is on the back of the muscle, and you can also engage the glutes as well. Finally, you can push the shoulders down into the rib cage, and that will engage the lats, which go along across the back. So that is what it's doing. And why do I say it's one of the best exercises for a beginner to do? Well, number 1, you're able to focus on all of that. You're able to focus on keeping the abdominals tight. You're able to focus on squeezing the glutes, the shoulder blades, and pushing the shoulders down without having to worry about lifting a weight or moving your body in any way, shape, or form. If we can learn this skill first, so getting all these muscles contracted and build that in our brain, so we can build the motor patterns or motor engrams in our brain, as they're called. It's much easier then when we start moving, because this bit will be natural. And then when we put the movement on top, we've just got to worry about the movement, because all this muscular contraction is much more natural. And then finally, we can use it to build endurance. And endurance is one of the most effective ways of then being able to build core strength and stability. And it also minimizes risk of lower back pain in the future as well. Exercise number 2 is a side plank, and much like the plank, it's a static exercise. So how do we do it? Well, again, we're bracing the abdominal wall. So it's here, here, and obliques on the side, with the main focus being this underside here of the obliques. Again, we want a straight line from ear to ankle, or ankle to ear. So we're going all the way up through there. We don't want the hips to drop down and then back up again, but we also don't want the hips to come up and again, back down again. We want to try and keep that straight line going all the way through. And again, you can do it the same. You can either go up onto the toes or onto the feet as I am here, or you can start on the knees. Again, that just reduces the lever because the knees are on the floor, but again, we want that straight line all the way up the body. So what is it doing? As I've mentioned, we're working abdominal wall, which is here, with main focus on the underside oblique. So obviously when you change sides, it will go to the other side. But what's also happening is we've got another muscle called Quadratus Lumborum, abbreviated to QL, which is, if I was to draw, so this is for back view of the pelvis, and then you've got the spine coming up here. This muscle comes off the pelvis, and then you've got the rib cage going around here. It comes off and up to the rib cage, and then joins on to the vertebra as it goes up the spine. So you've got that one working. You've got glute medius and minimus. So glute medius and minimus are basically on the side of the hip here. So these muscles are working as well. And with, again, the main focus with obliques, QL, which is underneath that, and glute medius, glute minimus on this underside. And then obviously when you change sides, it will go to the underside, which will be the other side. Why do we do it? Again, we're able to focus on getting all of this in place, so we can get this muscle tension where we need it. So we're able to focus much like the plank. And also, same as the plank, we're able to build endurance. And in some ways, the side plank, in some respects, is more important than the plank, because you may find that you have like this side is stronger than this side. So you may need to work on the weaker side slightly more, because again, an asymmetry is going to cause more problems in the future. So if we can sort of bring this asymmetry closer together, doesn't mean we have to get it exact, but if we can bring it closer together, it's going to be much better for your core strength and stability. Exercise number 3 is hip thrust. Now, how do we do the hip thrust? Well, we lie on our back. Now, what we would do, this would be our start position. We would be led on the floor, knees bent, feet flat on the floor, but our hips, because they're on the floor and our knees are up, we are in the flexed position. So we've got a flexed hip. So the movement is going from being led down in this position and then pressing the hips up into this extended position and then bringing them back down and repeating that movement for a number of reps. So we lie on our back, knees are bent, feet flat, and we have extended hips. So we would then go through a number of repetitions. It might be 8, it might be 10, it might be 12. So that is how to do that exercise. Now, what's this exercise doing? Well, it's starting to engage the glute muscles on the back of the hips. Now, these are very important when it comes to the core, because I've mentioned before, it helps us with the bracing posture when we do the side plank and the plank. And it's also good to have activated hips for general everyday movement, lifting, carrying, walking, running, so on and so forth. So what we would also do is we would then move into a bridge. So why do we do it? So we are able to focus. It's a simple movement where we go down and up. Now, why I'm suggesting we do hip thrust before a bridge is the very simple fact that when we go down, our glutes will relax. So we can train our brain to contract when we go up, relax when we go down, contract when we go up, relax when we go down. So again, we're building repetition into our brain that when we extend our hips, we contract our glutes. When we go into the bridge, because it's a static exercise, people can sort of forget to do that, and they can access their hamstrings a lot more. So what we need to be able to do is to be able to activate glutes on the back here, so we can then start building the hips the way that we need them. And as I've mentioned here, we can activate the glutes. And again, we would start with this, and then we would move into a bridge and into a single leg bridge, so on and so forth, once we've built that repetition into our brain again, because what I guess I've said in every single exercise up until this point is we are not only doing the exercise for the sake of the exercise, we are also doing the exercise to ingrain it in our brain so it becomes natural. So when we go on to the next level of exercises, what we're then able to do is be able to master those exercises because we've already completed a part of the exercise in this foundational 5 exercises. Exercise number 4 is half kneeling. Now half kneeling, as you can see, it's on one knee. We've got a straight line from our knee up to our ear. Excuse my not so straight line. So that is the position that we are in. What's it doing? Well, on this knee that's down, it's activating this glute muscle here. It's also challenging the balance. So we're not only working on, let's just say, an endurance or a strength aspect, now we're starting to work on a hip stability. So why are we doing it? We're starting to work on a hip stability, but also, again, because it's a static exercise, because we're just going to hold this posture, we are able to focus on engaging the glutes and maintaining the proper posture and the proper balance without it. And if we are able to sort of master that, all we would then do to make it a little bit harder is bring this front foot across so it was in front of the knee. So at the moment you can see I've got a bit of a base here, but all I would do to make it harder would then be bring this foot across so it's in line, so I'm a little bit like I'm on a tightrope. Once we've mastered that, we can then start going into moving the arms, adding some rotation, shifting the center of gravity, so we're then able to challenge that stability a little bit more. But what I find a lot of, as I've mentioned, is some trainers and some trainers of beginners and some beginners when they go into a gym, they see exercises that are slightly more complex, that require slightly more stability than they have or strength than they have. And they wonder why they struggle with such exercises. It's because they haven't built this foundation first, which they can then build the next rung on top, the next rung on top, and the next rung on top. So what happens is they kind of go in at the top, so they've got that, and then they don't really sort of, and they keep trying to go harder and harder, but they've not really got a stable foundation. So their health and their fitness is slightly sort of wobbly and it could topple over at any time. Whereas if we build it this way, as I'm describing, it's much more effective and it's going to be much more stable, much more upright for longer with a minimized risk of injury as well. Exercise number 5 is the bird dog. Now, how do we do it? We need to maintain a neutral posture through the spine. So that's the 3 natural curves through the spine. That also includes the head position. So my head isn't, I'm not looking up, I'm not looking down in this position, but if I was stood up, I'm looking straight ahead. So that would be the position here. What we then do is lift one arm and the opposite leg. So you can see I've got my right arm lifted and also my left leg. And we've also got to I am maintaining a centered torso. So when I lift these, I'm not shifting one way or the other, or rotating one way or the other. I'm maintaining centered in the middle. So what we are doing here, so what muscles we are working, we've got the spinal erectors, which go all the way up the spine. We've got the glutes on the side of the lifted leg. We've got the lats of both sides, because what we also want to be doing is pushing the shoulder down into the rib cage, so that activates the lats. And then because the arm is up, we've also got the posterior muscles on the back of the shoulder and the shoulder blade as well. And then finally, why are we doing it? Well, much like the half kneeling, we're focusing on stability. So we're focusing on spine stability by maintaining that centered posture of the hips. We've also got hip stability and shoulder stability on the side of the arm that is down on the floor. Now, what's also happening here is we are also integrating movement into it. So we are bracing the abdominals, we are maintaining this posture and position, And as I've mentioned, you want some exercises when we progress to add movement in. So when we add the movement, we can maintain all of this. So we can maintain the posture and we can maintain the muscle tension that we need. So this is the exercise where we start doing that. So when we're on so we start on all fours. So my leg down and my hand is down. What I then do is I lift this foot and this arm. But whilst I lift, I maintain the position of the spine and my head all the way through the movement, putting it up and putting it down. And it's the same when it comes to the centering of the hips. They stay centered when my knee's on the floor and also when my hand and knee are in the air as well. So it's very much thinking in that way. What we need to be doing as beginners is we need to be getting these foundational, fundamental exercises right, and what we can then do is move on to more complex, more elaborate movements, which are going to only enhance the way our core can work. And as I mentioned at the start of this video, if you want to enroll in the Core Strength and Stability 12-week program, it covers these exercises and more. It takes you through and progresses you from these exercises onto other ones, so you can build your core strength stability in the right way. And if you want to do that, you can just go down into the description and you can click the link that's there and you can enroll in the program. So many thanks for watching. My name is Chris from Crystal Hold Training. I'll speak to you in the next tutorial.